Today we began the Magnus Carlsen Tour Final. It's day number 1. There's 4 players, Magnus versus Ding, Hikaru versus Dubov. The same format as we've seen throughout the event, but the matches are best of 5, and then the finals is best of 7. The Hikaru versus Dubov storyline has some lore. Obviously, Hikaru beat Magnus, and then was knocked out in the final by Daniil Dubov. But in the very next event, it was actually Hikaru who defeated Dubov and eliminated him before the playoffs even began. So there is history, there's no real bad blood, but there obviously is a tiny bit of drama. And in the first game, it was Hikaru who early on played a very aggressive system with black and didn't play queen takes d5. Actually, qd5 is the only move in this position that apparently gets played. Hikaru said after the fact that he just had a bit of a lapse. He chose the wrong capture, and once again, I should just remind everybody that there is, just in case anybody's kind of slow to the action to begin with, that the real problem here is that Black's king is just way too weak. After queen h5, Dubov did not even recapture the knight because of how powerful this attack is, and got off to a very quick win early on. And it was in this position Hikaru resigned because of all of this pressure. Queen g6 is also just a devastating threat. Let me just show you. If the queen moves out of the way, there's queen g6 check. You can't even take it, and it's mate. It's simply mate. So a very quick 1-0 lead for Daniil Dubov. Those who very vocally, for whatever reason, show their disdain for Hikaru must have rejoiced, but their celebration was very quickly cut short. In the second game, Hikaru was playing white and was pressuring Dubov maybe a little bit early, but it was actually Daniil who began very powerful queenside counterplay of his own. And here he played the move rook a7. Now it looks like here there is simply perpetual. After queen f5, king g7, queen g4, it looks like you have to repeat moves. If king h8, probably just more of the same. Queen f5 and queen f6. It's actually white who is first to the attack here, and there's nothing for black. So, but king f8. And here the engine during live broadcast was screaming actually that black is just completely winning. But how is that possible? When rook d1 is coming, really the idea here is that if black plays queen a8 and goes for this mate, there's the stunning resource queen takes rook. Queen takes queen, and you fork, you pick up the queen right back, and your position is completely fine and you've stabilized. The difference of the move order, apparently, is the important thing. Here you have to play rook d1, because there is nothing that black can do here. If black plays queen a8, check, and you take, and it's all the same. But the difference, the way it happened in the game, apparently, is losing, because black has rook a8 in this position, defending everything, and queen a7 with this idea again. Now, obviously, here the game can continue with bishop d5, and there's chaos, there's various engine lines, something that the players, both understandably, in their low time situation, were, I don't know if just overlooked or something, but king e7 was the move here, and now we have our thumbnail. We're about to have our thumbnail, the whole namesake of this video, the checkmate blunder. Here, Daniil Dubov simply missed the move queen g6. I don't know if he missed it, I don't know what happened, but there's no way to defend mate. You have to play bishop e8, because you don't have a king move, actually. If you play king e8, you still lose. I just play queen here and I take. So bishop e8, and now the great move rook d6. Now sometimes giving away 2 rooks for a queen is not the best, but in this case, because you're picking this up with check, because the king moves and you're picking this up with check and all the pawns fall, you are just completely winning. There is nothing there. So after queen c7, rook d6, after bishop e8, rook d6, he did not take on d6, he played queen c7, and well, just like the thumbnail shows, queen c7, and he resigned. Because rook e6 is mate on the board. A beautiful checkmate. Defended like this, so the king cannot take. Defended, well, the pin here, and so it's winning. A blistering checkmating attack there by Hikaru, doubling the rooks, coming in with both the rooks and the queen, and Dubov, a big opportunity missed in the second game to stabilize, potentially even go up 2-0, and it is 1-1. In the third game, I'm actually going to flip this. Hikaru was dominating from the opening, big queenside advancement, knights crushing in the center, but here Daniil played a ridiculous move, bishop f6, a stunning move, which looks like absolute gibberish, but the point is that if you take this bishop, white is going to play queen h6 and rook g3 and f4, f5, and it's actually not even so clear who is supposed to be winning. The engine, if you let it run, will tell you something, but that's why engine analysis isn't always great. I only show the computer lines to actually show you how ridiculous things are. I never try to show engine lines to be like, oh, look at me, I know everything. More just like, this is so ridiculous, what human can possibly find this? Hikaru, not to be deterred, actually got into a position where there was a bunch of pieces hanging, both the rook, both the bishop and the knight, and here he played a move of his own, sacrificing a rook to stabilize the position. There was a moment here where the knight could have simply gone to a1 and gotten hit with queen b2. I'm not going to look through all the moves, but Hikaru then stabilized the center like this. This is a completely winning position, and after about 10 or 15 more moves, Dubov resigned and Hikaru took a 2-1 lead. Normally that's good enough, because with 2-1 and the white pieces in the last round, you stabilize, you play it safe, everything is good, you take it easy. But Daniil found a ridiculous, a beautiful endgame resource here, bringing the knight back and allowing Hikaru to march this pawn up to b7. Rook a1, rook a8, not a threat. How is it not a threat? Look at this. Because the knight gets trapped in the corner, but there is no way for white to win it. Because watch. Bishop a6, rook b4, rook b8. The knight is gone. The knight cannot move. But after rook b6, you force white to take with the bishop, because if rook takes, rook a6. So they take, and rook b3 cuts off the king, and it's a zugzwang. White can't move a single piece. White cannot move the rook, and white cannot move the bishop. And as long as Daniil, with the king, keeps his king safe, he doesn't play king f5, because then you actually can move the bishop, you win. And he used the h-pawn to create a barrier for Hikaru's king. And here, had Hikaru walked his king back, there would have been rook b2, king g1 in check, and then black would have simply played king e7 or king g7, and white is simply out of moves. And so in the game, we had, Hikaru try to get it into a rook endgame, but this is winning because this pawn is simply too weak, and the pawns are connected passers, and the game is over. 2-2, stunning comeback, let's go to the blitz. The fifth game of the blitz, the fifth game of the round, rather, the first game of the blitz, 5+3, was relatively calm. After 4 decisive games to get things going, Daniil played his usual Catalan kind of thing, but then all the pieces got liquidated, the queens were traded, the rooks were traded slowly, all the rooks were traded, some pawn advancement occurred, but black stabilized, and then opposite colored bishops, after some moves, the game was drawn. So Hikaru has white, it is game 6, the second game of the blitz, and we have this position after a tense opening. Dubov strikes in the center with d5, trying to create some sort of counterplay. f4, knight c4. After takes, bishop d3, it looks like bishop f3 is crushing for black. I mean, you're simply picking up some pawns here with the threat of the rook as well, and there's problems, and you are simply not going to solve them. Well, that is until Hikaru plays the brilliant bishop g6, trades the rook, and plays knight d4. He gives away the pawn, but uses an initiative of the knight to force the black rook, using this trade, to force the black rook to be behind the pawn. Then he plays b3. That kicks the knight away to an uncomfortable square somewhere, and also makes sure that there's no back rank weakness. The knight also cannot go to d6 because you'll run into bishop c5, winning, because after rook d7, you don't necessarily have rook d1, but you have very nagging pressure on black. Although knight d6, maybe the game can actually continue, it is kind of annoying. Rook e3, rook d3, as well as rook c3, and other moves first also, like rook g1 and pressure along the side of the board. If you plug it again into the computer, it tells you it's fine, the position is equal. The winning might be strong when I say it, but white's got very active pieces if the knight goes back to d6. So he decided to go to d2 with check, and put the knight on d2, defended by the rook on d7. Here Hikaru, I maybe should have paused here, finds a fantastic resource. Rook e3 to play rook c3 and rook c8. And Dubov played b4, but these two pieces are on the same diagonal as the bad boy on f2. And now we get bishop e1, knight f3, and bishop takes b4. And now we have a queenside pawn majority. If in any endgame you have superiority on the queen side, 2-1, 2-0, 1-0, 3-1, you've got to use your pawns. Watch what happens. Knight h4, bishop back to d3, doesn't want to get taken. Rook d4, bishop c5, and we pick up the pawn on a6. Black plays e5, we start to push the pawns. Bishop takes h5, bishop b7, now there is a red carpet. So knight f5, rook e3, rook e1, bishop f3, looking for the trade of bishops, doesn't even matter. Push it, push it, push it. The bishop dominates the entire knight from entering. rook c3, and here we trade because it is finally time to just push our pawns. A quick repetition here by the players, and Hikaru finds a fantastic tempo-winning move with rook e8 to play rook b8 and stabilize the pawns. And while there are 3 connected pass pawns on this side of the board, they are just not fast enough because we are 3 away from promotion. King e6, a6, rook c7, b5, try to bring the king, but the pawns are too strong, and it was in this position that Daniil Dubov resigned. Hikaru won the match by the score of, well, what would that be? That would be 2-2, 2.5, 3.5, 2.5. Good thing that I'm doing this in one take because I almost messed up my math there. And he secured a first match victory in their best of 5. Well, somewhere on the left-hand side, I also posted the day 1 recap of the Magnus Ding match. Whenever you're watching this, hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts so far on the tournament, some of your favorite games. And if you could replace one of the players in the field, who would you replace them with and why? We're live every day, 10 a.m. Eastern, both Hikaru's channel and my own, over on Twitch if you're not there already. Openings courses in the link below, as well as Discord and other beautiful links that you can check out. And I think that's it. Enjoy. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, evening. Be a good person, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.